It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Markward takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. And we're off and running. Another Fort Worth Musical Moments. Brent Adams along with Steve Markward. Steve back in Fort Worth after a whirlwind couple of weeks in Clarksville, Nashville, Tennessee, and then to Corsicana, Texas for the Corsicana Opry. We'll talk about that a bit. But Steve, how you doing this morning, man?
Oh, doing great, Brent. Doing great. Yeah, glad to be back in Fort Worth for a little bit. You know, things are crazy, but, wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, living the dream, my friend, just having fun and, trying to make my mark on the music world, however that looks, I was always taught to, when you approach something or someone, leave it a little bit better than you found it. So,
right. Well, that's what we'll try to do during this hour here. And another guy who's still trying to make his mark here and fighting the good fight, Mr. Sammy Sadler with us today here. I'm excited about this one. Sammy, how are you, man?
I'm good, Brent. How you doing, Steve? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, Sammy. Sammy and I, Brent, Sammy and I were talking as we were testing our connection here on the StreamYard app. We got to talking and realized that we're giving away some of some good conversation that we probably need to be having on the air. And next thing we know, I looked down and we were 2 minutes after 10. So I apologize for coming on late. I hope everybody stuck with us, and because I'm looking forward to this show, Sammy. We got a lot to talk about, and we don't want to delve. We don't want to stay too much in the past, but there you do have a story that is kind of, we all have experiences, good and bad, that shape who we are today. And,
that's right. And
the adverse experiences are all about how we handle them and what we do with them moving forward. So we're anxious to hear more about that, and most anxious to hear what you got going on today, because that's most important.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and congratulations to both of you guys of what y'all are doing and promoting the music and promoting artists. That's what it's all about, man.
Well, absolutely. And that was part of the discussion to let everybody in on the pull back the curtain a little bit here. That's what we're talking about before we came on the air, is just how you move forward in all this. And we'll get into all that. And one of the things I admire about Sammy is through all the ups and downs in his career, he continues to battle here and is finding new roads here as this whole crazy thing shakes out with the way all this music is being distributed and the new avenues here. It's like breathing new life into all this. And this whole show is about introducing artists to a new audience here. We have built a great audience over this past year, and excited for everybody that's here. And glad to spend a little time in the outskirts of Bonham, Texas here to talk about Sammy's career. As we get started here, Sammy, tell us a bit about life there in Texas, where you grew up and how it formed you as an artist.
Well, I grew up in a little small town out here called Leonard, Texas. That's where I went to school all my life, and Bonham's about 16 miles from Leonard. And, my dad, he was originally from close to the Bonham area as a kid, is where he grew up, and then he went to he ended up being a salesman or something, I think, in his early 20s or something like that. And he met my mom in Memphis, Tennessee, and she was originally from Dyersburg, Tennessee. And so I was born in Memphis, but our roots are here in Texas, and he moved the family back when I was about 2 or 2.5 years old, and I've been in Texas just about all my life, except for the 6 years I lived in Nashville after I graduated from high school.
So you got the best of both worlds in you, a little Texas blood, a little Tennessee blood.
A little T&T, yeah. Little T&T. But yeah, I'm man, I'm a Texan, and I love Texas, and I like Tennessee as well, man. I don't have any ill feelings about Tennessee because of some of the stuff that's going on. I got a lot of friends in Nashville, but I love Texas, and I've been here in Texas. I come back after the incident, and I've just, I love Texas, my home,
And as Steve has found, you can make a pretty good career making Texas your home base.
Yeah, there's, you both of you guys know. I mean, there's a lot of music and a lot of acts come out of Texas that's been successful, and success is not measured on whether you got a hit record at radio. Success is measured in a lot of different ways. And if you're able to go out and do what you love to do and make a living at it, then you're successful in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done that really well here to find those new audiences and continue to keep the music fresh here. And as we're seeing right now, there's such an interest in this kind of a 90s revival here. And that seems to fit right in with what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a resurge in 90s country music. And I mean, if you look at the pattern of music, I mean, every 10 or 12 years, it's like comes full circle and comes back around. And, there's a market out there for they said, they talk about your age or they talk about whatever. People still want to hear good country music. And I think, Steve, you do some Western swing stuff. And I mean, that's a market out there that people love to hear as well. And you just got to stick to your guns, believe in what you're doing, believe in the music that you represent, and just go out and forge your own way. I mean, if you want to be owned by a label and them tell you what to do and how to look and how to dress and what kind of songs to sing, then if that's if you're young and in my book, if you're young and dumb and want to sign those kind of deals, then you're going to be owned by them. But guys like us and older people and older guys in this music business, I mean, we believe in what we're doing. It's kind of hard to change who we are of what we believe in.
All right. That's what I love about this audience and all the folks that are watching today is that they're standing there with open arms waiting for independent artists who are true to themselves and not beholden to a label or confined by all those things that you just mentioned.
Well, I mean, guys like me and Steve and other acts out there, I mean, if you want to be creative and you want to be able to do what you want to do, you gotta go out here and do it on your own, and but if you want to be told what to do and you want to be made like a mold and then you sign with those guys that do that. But for me, I want to be who I am, and if I don't sing the songs that touch me, I don't believe the audience is going to be able to feel what we do when we get on the stage to sing it.
Absolutely.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you, Sammy. And if you're a songwriter and you're writing meaningful songs, which hopefully every song means something. Some of them, I'm kind of escape me a little bit, but for the most part, I like to tell stories in my song, or I like to have a if it's a sad song, I like to at least end it with some measure of redemption,
Yeah.
And so when you tap into that, it's a spiritual thing for me,
Yeah, I mean, as if you don't feel it, how you expect your audience to feel it. And I mean, that's the whole thing about country music. Country music and stuff is about real life and about feelings and emotions, man. I mean, music can touch you in a way that nothing else can touch you. And if you're the singer or the songwriter singing the song, and if you can't feel it and you don't believe in it, I don't see how you're going to make your audience believe it.
I was talking to Tommy Sadler yesterday. He's the CEO of American Country Network, which is set to launch late this quarter, in a couple of months, and he's got his finger on the pulse, as he should, in his position of the where music is going. And like you said, Tommy's saying, look, there's a major move. People are desiring more and more songs that tell meaningful stories. Not just sitting on the tailgate, skipping a rock across the creek and drinking a beer.
And cows and enchiladas and barns. I mean, there's a lot more to stuff, like you said, Steve, than that kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm not knocking anybody, but I mean, today's country music is not what you guys and me know as country music. And we grew up on songs that has got emotion and feelings and it'll touch you. And some of the music today, man, is just I don't know, it just doesn't cut it for me.
No, and I think, like I said, I think there is a movement back towards more meaningful stuff. It goes all the way back to Jimmy Rogers and Hank Williams and those guys.
Yeah.
They got in touch. Jimmy Rogers was more of a blues man than anything else, and he took it and added some twang to it. And of course,
Hmm.
Ernest Tubb inspired Hank Williams, and of course,
Yeah.
Hank was the ultimate songwriter as far as I'm concerned. And there's a great story in Ken Burns' jazz documentary that's a long 18 hours.
Wow.
But if you really got a slow weekend, you should watch it because it goes all. It's really cool. But they're talking about the great saxophonist Charlie Parker, who kind of totally reinvented modern music in the way he played, and he was a tortured genius. But they said there was one night one of the guys that played with him. They were all in a bar after hours and just kind of hanging out, and Charlie went up to the jukebox and put a quarter in and punched in 3 Hank Williams songs. And these are African American jazz guys, hey, hip man, and they're like, Charlie, what are you playing that stuff for? He goes, shh. He goes, the stories, man, the stories.
The stories. Yeah. Hank was a master at that, wasn't he?
He was.
Man, I'll tell you. Shame that he had to die so young, man.
Yeah, it is. And we talk about an old soul, though. Oh, my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Steve touched on a word earlier, spirituality and faith has played such a big role in your life here. And, we talk about, being an independent artist and having the freedom to be able to express yourself. And that's one of the beauties of this, is that you haven't been able to kind of stuff who you are down deep. You've been able to express yourself that way and glorify God through your journey here. And that's been huge.
Well, I haven't always been a Christian, Brent, and like most of us, when you're young, you think you know it all, and you run from God and you kind of rebel. I was kind of that way, I guess, in my high school years and in my 20s. Even whenever I went through the shooting of the murder on Music Row, I wasn't saved whenever that happened to us, and then I find out Kevin Hughes, that was murdered that night, that was a Cashbox chart manager. I found out later that he was saved and I wasn't. And to look back on that and know that God thought enough of me to keep me and save me, I'm just thankful of that. I'm thankful that he thought enough of me to save me and keep me, because, if I'd have died that night, I probably went to hell. So I'm thankful that God gave me a second chance. And I got right with God. I can say I am a Christian, and I believe, that everybody, there's people out here that are not saved, and they get blessed every day, and they never know that God is blessing them. They don't have a clue that's happening to them, and I'm just thankful that I'm here today, and I'm who I am today.
And that's pretty wild, because a lot of people kind of play fast and loose with life and don't really think about things like that. But
Yeah.
boy, I would imagine, when you've had the experience that you had, and you're lying in a hospital bed, reviewing your own mortality there, that tends to be quite a wake up call, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I didn't know how bad I was hurt that night. Whenever they got me to the hospital, they took me to Vanderbilt. I didn't know how bad I was hurt. And then when I woke up, I don't know if it's a day later or 2 days later, I can't remember, but my arm had swelled up about 3 or 4 sizes of a basketball, and it was in a position to where I couldn't move it. I couldn't move my arm, my hand, and I had some nerve damage. But that night, whenever they were operating on me, I had an out-of-body experience, man. I floated up out of my body, and my mom and dad, they were in Texas. They couldn't get to Nashville. They tried to get private plane. They couldn't get nothing. So they were here all night in Texas and didn't get there till the next day sometime. But I floated up out of my body, and I looked over at the operating doors, and my mom and my stepsister, they walked through the doors, and I just looked at them and said, I'm going to be all right. And I floated to the widest, brightest, most peaceful place I've ever been. And it just, not knowing, what was going on, but it was just so much peace and just brightest white that I've ever seen. And then I came back down into my body, and it's just an experience I'll never forget.
It's interesting. And you hear about these stories, and the interesting thing is, and what just strengthens my faith, because if I'm left to my own devices, I become pretty agnostic, and without even realizing it. But when you hear these stories and they're all so similar, then that just strengthens my resolve to know that, yes, God is alive and well, and he's out there, and he's, and I have a friend that was in high school, didn't grow up as a Christian at all, not a bad kid. He just didn't grow up as a Christian. And he was running hurdles in track in a meet, and he tripped over a hurdle, hit his forehead, and got up, and a real hard hit. And he got up, and he said, "I think I'm going to be okay." And then he said, all of a sudden my head started pounding. I remember looking over at the stands at my mom. He goes, the next thing you know, I'm looking at myself down on a table that I know today was the hospital. I can describe everything, which coincides with what was really going on. And he says, the next thing you know, I'm in this just real bright. He goes, Steve, I can't explain this. He goes, I don't tell just anybody this, but I'll tell you this. He goes, all I can tell you is what I felt was the magnitude of love that makes you feel like you're going to explode in a good way.
Yeah. Unless you experience it, you don't, you can't know what somebody's trying to describe to you,
Yeah. And so I love to hear stories like that. I hate it that it took that for you to have that experience, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, and it's even after all of that, it took me 2 years to get back on my feet after the shooting. And I had to go back 6 months after I got out of the hospital. I had to go back nearly 6 months to the day, have a second operation for them to graft the nerve that was torn in two whenever he shot me. It busted the main artery in my arm that night. They had to graft an artery out of my leg to save my arm. And then 6 months later, nearly to the day, I had to go in and they had to do a nerve graft where it blown the ulnar nerve in two. So I had to go in and get that repaired. And then it took me 2 years to get back out on the road to get going again. And we never did try to really go back to get another record deal. We just went out and started. I put a band together and a road band together, and we started going out and playing. And from about the middle of 91 to 98, I worked 265 days a year there for about 6 or 7 years.
Wow. Well, Brent, I think we probably want to backtrack and have you just relay a little of what for those that don't know your story.
Let's set it up this way. Tell me a bit. You and I have talked about this before, but I'm sure there's people checking in for the first time. Tell us a bit about what took you to Nashville to begin with. What compelled you to say, man, I want to be a country music artist? This seems like.
Well, Brent, as a kid, I was, I got hooked on Elvis when I was a kid. I mean, I loved Elvis. And then as I got older, then I started listening to country music, started listening to Merle Haggard, George Jones, Marty Robbins. I mean, all those guys. And I just went around as a young kid playing the Opries, in Texas, Oklahoma. Ended up being able to go and play the Louisiana Hayride twice. And I just got hooked on music as a kind of in my middle school years and going into high school. And we put a little band together in high school and played a few little things and did some of that kind of stuff. And, then when I got ready to graduate, I had to make a decision. Was I going to pursue a sports career or was I going to pursue music? And Steve can probably contest this, man. I mean, when the music business bites you, it's kind of hard you can't get it out of you, man. It's like a fire inside you. And, to be able to go out and perform and people applaud you and like what you do, it's a feeling that only entertainers they only know. I mean, it's hard to explain what we get off of that and what we feel off of that. And so I made a decision to choose music And so I moved to Nashville when I graduated in '84. Moved to Nashville and going into the winter of '84, and by the end of '84, going into '85, I ended up getting a record deal and had a record deal with Evergreen Records. And at the time, they were the #1 independent record label up there, and they had Robin Lee on the label at the time, and Norval Felts and John Wesley Riles and different people. And Robin went on to sign with Atlantic and have the big record Black Velvet. And they started cutting records on me and putting out singles. And back then, they wouldn't just go in and cut an album on you. They'd put out singles to kind of see how you did at radio. So from '85 to '89, I had 6 nationally charted records, and we'd cut the old Aaron Neville song and Tell It Like It Is. And that was my 6th and fastest rising single. And it was moving up the charts quickly. So they were starting to rush me in to go in and cut the album and get it ready. And on March 9th, 1989, tragedy struck. I was shot and left for dead. My friend Kevin Hughes, that was a chart manager for Cashbox Magazine, which was a rivalry to Billboard then, he was shot and murdered, and it went around the world as the Murder on Music Row.
So you were with him. What? So just kind of walk us through what happened. I mean, what was that? You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Yeah, I didn't even know I was going to see him that night, Steve. And me and my wife at the time kind of got in a little argument, and I just wanted to get out of the house. And because I don't like to argue and fuss and fight. I just wanted to get out of it. So I called Kevin to see, if he was around, and I called down to Cashbox, and the phone just rang and rang and rang, and I was fixing to hang up. I thought I heard somebody say hello, and I pulled the phone back up to my ear, and it was Kevin. And I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm working on the charts." And I said, "Well, if you're going to be there a while, I'll come down there and see." He said, "Yeah, come on down. I'll leave the door open for you." So I drove down to Nashville. And at the time, Cashbox's office was in the Fair and Young building there in Nashville, and it was on the 3rd floor. And so I went up, and when I walked in, he was on the telephone. So I just grabbed a magazine and started looking at it until he got off the phone. And when he got off, I said, "Man, you want to go grab something to eat?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "You want to go in my truck or your car?" And we jumped in his car and went and got something to eat. And on the way back, I decided to stop at Evergreen to use the telephone to call my parents. Kevin and I had only known each other about 7 or 8 months, but we were developing a fast friendship. And, sometimes you guys know as well as I do, there's people that you meet and you just instantly click with, and you develop a friendship with, and some of those friendships turn into lifelong friendships. And I feel like if this hadn't happened to me and Kevin, we would have probably had that kind of friendship. But that night we stopped and we went into Evergreen. I got on the phone, called my parents, and was sitting there talking to them. And I handed the phone to Kevin. He had never met him, obviously, and he was saying hello to him. And while we were there, we were on the phone. We heard something rattle. Sound like something rattled the front door. And me and him both looked at each other and said, "What was that?" And he handed me back the phone, and he said, "I'll go check." So he got up and went outside and looked and come back in. I said, "What was it?" And he said, "Well, I'm really not sure. It looked like maybe a black guy walking down the street." He said, "But the lighting," he said, "I really can't tell if it was or not." And so I told my parents, I said, "Hey, we're going to go. I'll call you tomorrow." And, so we were getting ready to leave, and me and him walked out in front of the office. We looked out the windows. We looked out the front door. It had a big glass window in it. We didn't see anything. And Kevin's car was parked on 16th Avenue, which is Music Row. It's a one-way. And we went out on the front porch and looked around, didn't see anything. And so we started walking across the street to Kevin's car, and we was kind of, laughing and kind of cutting up a little bit. And I walked in front of Kevin's car and opened the door and sat down and started to shut the door. And whenever I did, I looked like something moved out of the corner of my eye, and I looked up, and this guy was just right on top of me, and all I could see was the gun. And I said, "Oh my God, this guy's got a gun." I just automatically threw my arms up to cover my head, and that's what shot me. It hit my arm, and Kevin, they said, did a barrel roll out of his car and started running back up 16th Avenue. The guy went after him and shot. I heard shots, but they said he missed on the first one or two, and then the next ones two of them hit him in the back, and he stood over him, shot him in the back of the head, and run off.
So was this just a random? I mean, what was the motive there?
Well, that's the whole thing about this. It took them 13 years to put this together and to finally catch the guy that they said pulled the trigger and put all this together. And what they said it all come out to be was a payola scandal. That this guy that actually pulled the trigger, he had Kevin's job at Cashbox before Kevin had it. Then he got fired from Cashbox because of him doing stuff with the charts, and they said he was on cocaine and sexually harassing the women and stuff that worked there. And so he had turned into a record promoter, and there were other record promoters involved in this that knew about it, but they said he actually pulled the trigger, and it was about payola, and they were trying to pay Kevin off to move records up the charts that they were working, and Kevin would not take their money. He was an honest guy, so they shot and killed him over it, and I just happened to be with him that night.
Man.
And all that, it should be noted that you were just 21 years old at the time. It's not like you were a grizzled veteran in Nashville. You were still just trying to make your way.
Man, I was again, man, when you're 18 or 19, you think you know everything. But yeah, I was just still a young kid. And, Kevin, I think, was 24. And, I imagine Kevin thought he had his dream job because he loved music and he loved the part of how the charts work and who produced the records and who played on them. I mean, he was infatuated with all of that. And, so him to have that job at 24, whenever he took it, I mean, I'm sure he thought that, that was his dream job, just like me going to Nashville and getting a record deal at 18. I said, it's like back then they didn't sign 18-year-olds. I don't care if it was an independent or a major label. They wanted acts that, were in their late 20s, 30s, seasoned, veterans. And, again, I thought, man, it can't be this easy. But luckily, and, I didn't know how the business worked. I had no idea that kind of stuff went on, and that's how things are handled and how careers are made with some of that stuff is about payola and all that stuff. And, to find out how it is and how it works and that kind of stuff goes on. And there was 5 different record promoters that knew about this, and some of them got immunity for telling what they knew.
So how long had Kevin been at that job when that happened?
I'm really not sure, Steve, but I mean, he had been there. I don't know if he'd been there a year. I'm really not sure, but he was young to it. But he was just an honest guy, man, and he wanted things to be done right. And for him to lose his life, I mean, I've said this and I'll say it. That man lost his life for country music. I took a bullet for it, and he was an honest and good guy, and for nobody to recognize this man. I had a record promoter in Nashville. I was in Nashville about 8-10 years ago, and I was up there recording, and I took a break and went to the store to get something to drink, just get out of the studio a little bit. And I was gassing my car up, and I heard somebody say, "Sammy," and I turned around. There was a record promoter there in Nashville, and he's still there today and still in business. He's probably promoted over 85 #1 records. And he come over and talked to me and asked me how I was doing. I told him I was doing okay. And he said, "Well, what do you think about doing something for Kevin down on Music Row?" I said, "Man, I think it's a great idea." And I said, "Just let me know, and I'll be here. I'll do whatever I can." I went to CRS the very next year, and I run into him, and I said, "Man, whatever happened to that deal you wanted to do for Kevin?" He said, "Sammy, nobody on Music Row wanted to have anything to do with it." And it breaks my heart and it hurts me even today to know that Nashville, Tennessee, and the music community will not recognize a young man that stood for something honest and something true and believed in honesty. And nobody in Nashville wants to recognize him or remember him. You know, when something happens to somebody in the music business, they rally around their own. And I believe because of the content of what this is about payola and the scandal that it rocked the country music world in Nashville, you know, I still say shame on them. It's wrong. Evan Hughes deserves to be honored. Our names deserve to be cleared because here we are, two innocent people that knew nothing about this business and the scandal that it created because of what goes on. Our names shouldn't be tied to something that we never created, that we didn't, you know, we're not the ones who created how this business works and how things go on. We were there to do our jobs and to try to be a part of it, just like anybody else.
Y'all were just cogs in a machine. Do you think
Yes.
the unwillingness of the music community or Nashville, whatever you want to call it, do you think that a lot of that had to do with maybe a fear of further exposure to an underbelly that they didn't want to see?
It probably that's probably true, Steve. And I mean, the public out here doesn't know how careers are really made and what really goes on with it. I mean, people, they think, they hear people on the radio and come out of the blue, that are singing, and they think that, it just happens, and, it don't happen. Being able to sing is not all that it takes to be able to get there to be a so-called star or be a household name. It takes a lot more than that.
Yeah. I've said this, I'm a late bloomer, Sammy. I didn't get into the music business and didn't really start writing music until I learned how to play the guitar, which that happened at age 57. So,
yeah.
And I'm 63 now. I don't mind my age.
Well, you don't look 63, brother.
Well, thanks. It's clean living, brother.
There you go.
Actually, if I could tell my story prior to 2002, which was when I had a spiritual awakening. I got to the end of myself, I should say, and there was God, and since then, my life is a story in two parts. The first half of it is kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie. The second half is every day I want to be awake and aware to the presence of God and what he's doing in mine and other people's lives, like yours.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, is being awake to that. But
yeah.
But I know enough about. I learned enough pretty quickly about the music business to know that it's getting a record label deal and all that's not all it's cracked up to be. It's kind of like, be careful what you ask for, you might get it. And and then they guys will tie you up and they'll give you advances, and what they're doing is loaning money, and you're the collateral.
Yeah, I mean, you stay in the red. Everybody thinks that they give you the money, but if they front you the money, it's going against your account, and you got to pay that back, to them. And you sign a major record deal, you may get an 85-15 deal, and it's 85 to them and 15 to you.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks there's a lot of people that are out here rolling up and down this road that you hear on the highway. Then you hear on these radios that you think they're rolling, but they owe their life, and they're hocked up to their life to a lot of these people.
Yeah, I remember when totally different genre of music, but a genius that I admired was Prince, and I remember him coming on that talk show and having the word slave written across his forehead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he broke away from that and formed his own record label, and that started a kind of a big movement, I think. But wow, what a story, though. I was telling my wife, she was asking me who you got on the show, and I told her, and I said, that Murder on Music Row thing is the real deal. She goes, oh, well, that's the George Strait and Alan Jackson song. I said, that song has nothing to do with the real deal. Is a little bit darker than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. This thing, whenever it happened, I mean, it was it shot around the world. I mean, it was on every newspaper, every TV. It was in Germany and England and everywhere else. I mean, it was a big deal, and it rocked the country music world. And a lot of people, they think, oh, just like you said, oh yeah, the Murder on Music Row, George Strait and Alan Jackson. Well, no, there was a real murder on Music Row. And, that song, they can say what they want to. They didn't write that song till 10 years later. And if you listen to the first lines in that song, it talks about a man down on Music Row got away with murder, yada, yada, yada. And then they twist it that country music is dying on Music Row. But that's where they got the idea to write the song Murder on Music Row. And, they don't want to admit that, but that's where they got it.
And I know, that interest in it pops up now and again. And Court TV did a piece on it here about a little less than a year ago, last March. And I have put a link to that in the comment section. So if you want to go check that out, wait till you're done here. We want to you to stick around for everything we got going on here. But when you get some time, go click on that link and watch that piece. When you had a chance to see it, do you feel like it was well done?
Are you talking about the Court TV thing with Tamron Hall?
Yep.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't like about it is they had some reporter in there that says, "Oh, we tried to get in touch with Sammy, but he was hiding out." Let me tell you, and let me set this record straight. Again, today, I have never hid out. They have tried to implicate me from day one that I had something to do with this or try to get Kevin set up to get him shot and killed. And for them to do that and implicate or try to say something like that, shame on them. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. I'm going to do something, I'm going to get shot and left for dead myself. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. And, I've said it again, the police were wrong. They are wrong for trying to do that. And implicate something to that matter. If they ever made Kevin Hughes' family feel that or tell them that, shame on them again. I've never been able to talk to Kevin's family since it happened. And the police at the time would not let us talk to Kevin's family. I think my mother might have talked to Kevin's mother one time when it actually first happened and I was in a hospital, I believe. But after that, we were never allowed to talk to them for some reason. I don't know why, but it hurts me. It hurts me in my heart if the police made Kevin's family ever think that or feel that. Shame on them. They lost a son and a brother and their family members. I know what it done to my life. I know what it done to my family's life, and I survived it by the grace of God. But I'll say it again. I think the police owe me an apology, and I think they were wrong for doing that. I think it put a cloud over my life and my career, and I've never went away. I've never went into hiding. I wrote a book about this. Why would you ever think something like that? I'm here. I'm never going to go away. I'm going to keep pursuing my music and my career that God gave me a talent to do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And I'm not only doing it for me, I'm doing this for Kevin because I know that he would not want me to quit. And I know that he doesn't have a voice. And somewhere down the line, I believe Nashville owes Kevin Hughes and myself an apology.
And, as you're going through all this and that you've got that kind of cloud, and there's some people that are always going to have that specter of doubt. How do you look at it and say, man, I've still got a lot of life to live here. I want to pursue this career.
Well, I've got a lot of music in me, and God is the one that put the music in me. He's the one that gave me the talent, and I didn't let a bullet stop me, and I'm going to continue to do what I love to do and what I feel like I was put on this earth to do. And if what I've been through can help somebody or change somebody's life, along the way, then I've done my job. Nashville doesn't confine who I am or my music. The people do, and that's all that matters. Is me trying to get my music to the people, trying to get my story of what I've lived through to the people, and letting somebody, mine was a gunshot and a bullet. I don't know what somebody out there is going through. Everybody has a story. Everybody is going through something in your life. If you're not, you're lucky. There's going to come a time when you're going to go through something in your life. And there's people out there right now that have been through things that may not be Christians, and you've survived a life or death situation. If you're still here, it's because the hand of God has been on you, and you're still here for a reason. And if I can help somebody going through something, or let them know, look, don't give up. Keep the faith, because God is the one that sustains us. And I'm just letting everybody know that I'm here by the grace of God. He touched me and he saved my life. And if I can help somebody going through what they're going through, I don't know what it may be. You may have cancer. You may be an alcoholic. You may be a drug addict. I don't know what it is, but I do know that God can help you just like he helped me.
And you do a lot of touring as you go out. Do you get a lot of feedback from the audience, folks that come and seek you out and let you know that you've connected with them in that way?
Yeah, there's always, one or somebody that comes up and says something. So I keep doing what I do because, one, I love it. And like I said to Steve earlier, it's like a fire inside you. You can try to walk away from this business. You can try to walk away from being an entertainer or a songwriter, but it's in you, and you can't do it. You just can't do it. It's something that drives you, and that's why I keep doing what I do, because it's a fire inside me.
I think it's really cool to see, because going through what you went through, you can emerge from that two different ways, I guess, or maybe maybe a lot in between, but two major ways. You can go through the rest of your life with self-pity and why did this happen to me? Poor me, poor me. But I sense with you, it's gratitude that you survived, and that there's a reason why God spared you and pulled you through that. And hey, from a spiritual standpoint, I believe we're all just beggars helping each other find the food,
Yeah.
And so I think it's cool that you're out there putting out there a positive message instead of a negative message. And I understand your frustration and disappointment in the society that is, the music business, and how they handle that and how they treated you and all that. And I agree. I think they're, and whether you ever get that apology or not, it's good to know that you're at one with God, and God's got you, and that, and he pulled you through all that. And now you're just out there trying to put a positive message out there through your music and your book.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing about it, Steve, is that, when you're sitting there, and people across the country, I just want you to know, you may be sitting there in your home today and feel like you're alone and you're not worthy. You're not, you may not be where you want to be in your career. You may not be where you want to be in your life or your message. You think nobody cares, nobody loves you. I tell you, God loves you. He's right there with you. And don't give up. Don't let the devil tell you you're not worth anything. Don't let the devil tell you that you can't do it, because you can. I just want people to know that there's a bigger power and a bigger Lord up there that knows better than we do.
Sammy, do you find yourself in situations often where somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I've been through something. I'm a victim of a violent crime, or I'm suffering from PTSD." And are you able to sit down and connect with them? Do you find that God puts those people in your life?
Well, I have people at shows that'll come up and say, "Man, you're tonight you touched me," or "What you said got to me." I did a show a few months back, and there was a guy there, and he come up to me that night because I just told him some of the stuff that I just told you, of some of the stuff I said that night on stage. And he said, "Man, I'm surviving stage 4 cancer, and what you said tonight really touched me." And I don't get a chance to visit with him very long because we're at a show, and everybody's hustling, bustling through there, and we're trying to get the band loaded and get on the bus and leave. But I did get, I do get a chance to visit with them for a few minutes. And sometimes, they may stay in touch with me over social media or whatever. But if I try to take the time to talk to anybody that wants to talk. After I got shot, I became the national spokesperson for NOVA, the National Organization for Victims Assistance out of Washington, D.C. And I was their national spokesperson for a couple of years. And I got to meet a lot of people and do a lot of things through NOVA, thankful for them and that organization. And, I met governors and senators and all kinds of people. We did a show for Janet Reno in Washington, D.C. and got to meet her. And, so anything that, I just want people to know not to give up, and that God loves you and somebody's there with you, and he's with you whenever you don't think anybody's with you.
Amen, brother.
And along those lines, not too long ago, you put out a song called "Everything's Gonna Be All Right." I want to share this one with everybody. Tell us about it.
That's a song Steve Warner and Bill Labonte wrote. And man, when I heard that song, I fell in love with it. And, I'm a big Steve Warner fan. He's been a big influence on my music and my stuff that I do. And lucky enough, I've been able to meet Steve and open up for him. And he ended up coming in and singing with me on a previous song and album that him and Bill Anderson wrote. So whenever I heard this and knew that Steve had wrote it, I just fell in love with the song. And I think it's a positive message for everybody, and a good, feel-good song. And I just love the song, and everything is going to be all right. Just trust in God and believe in yourself and believe in him. And things work a lot better when you got God on your side. You look back on our lives, and maybe you guys can attest to this, but when you ain't got God in your life and you live in the life of the devil, he don't care about us, but because he knows he's got us. But whenever you come to the Lord and you start living for God, that's when the fight begins, because he knows he's lost you. And to think you're just going to escape through it now that you're a Christian, that's when the fight begins, whenever you turn your life over to him and start living for him.
Right.
Yeah, the closer you get to the light, the more spiritual warfare you experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Steve.
But when God, if like it says, if God's with us, who could be against us? And
that's right.
And just because you become a Christian and been saved, it doesn't mean that life's a bowl of cherries. But
that's right.
What I've come to realize is when times are tough, that's all they are, is growth opportunities. Yeah,
absolutely.
So
I mean, the devil's all about the darkness and God's all about the light. Yeah. And I've been through a lot of darkness, and thank God he's had his hand on me, and I hope that I can show people out there, wherever they may be, that you can come through it just like I did. Just believe, keep the faith, be strong, and don't listen to negativity, because that's all this world is a bunch of negative stuff, and people tell you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not that. Just believe in yourself, stay true to who you are, and I believe God will open the doors and show you the way.
Absolutely. Brent, I really wish you wouldn't play this song, because the last time I heard it, it took me about 6 months to get it out of my head.
Well, here comes the next 6 months, because I'm going to push the button in 3, 2, 1.
Thanks, Sharon. And that's your weather update. In other news, the cattle market is at an all-time low. Sure hate to hear that for all of our local farmers.
Too little money, too many tears. What can I say? I guess it's just been one of those years. No need to worry, what good does it do? Darling, turn out the light and tell me that you love me too. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart. Everything is gonna be alright. We can make it through the darkest night. If we're in each other's arms, everything will be alright. Fires are burning on faraway shores. Seems like the world's forgot what it's been turning for. We've got our problems. Well, tell me what's new. Darling, just take my hand. Together we can see it through. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart. Everything is gonna be alright. We can make it through the darkest night. If we're in each other's arms, everything will be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart. Everything is gonna be alright. We can make it through the darkest night. If we're in each other's arms, everything will be alright.
Beautiful song with a great message.
Oh man, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I love
Tell you
it.
what, Sammy, after going through what you went through and hearing that message, that's all you need to know. That if you say it, then it's true. And you're right. With God, as long as God's on our side, everything in the end is going to be all right.
That's right. That's right. Just keep believing, man, and stay strong and believe in what you do and live the best that you can. And I believe God will take you down the path you're supposed to go.
You've got a very, very special voice. I love your vocals. Beautiful voice and
Thank you, man.
great delivery. So it's man, I'm so glad you're out there making music.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve. It's been a long, hard ride for me. I mean, as I went to school and got out of there, and a lot of people don't know I was probably the first lead singer for Perfect Stranger.
Oh, okay.
For about 2.5 or 3 years, and those guys went on to have success later in the '90s with a song called "You Have the Right to Remain Silent." And, I travel the roads with a couple of those guys, many, many miles, man. I traveled, I know when after the shooting and I became the spokesperson for Nova, I figured up one year that between buses, planes, and driving, we traveled over 1 million miles in a year, man. And, it's not been an easy ride, and, people say, well, why you still do it or why you want to do this? You're getting older. Well, yeah, I am getting older, but, I don't feel like I look my age, and I believe in what I do. I still believe I've got something to contribute, and I've got a message and music that I still believe deserves to be heard. And I'm going to continue to do what I love to do, and Nashville's not going to, dictate to me whether I'm going to go away or whether I'm going to quit. I'm going to continue to do what I love to do, and just like you, you love what you do, and you've got the music in you, and you've got the kind of music that you love, and so congrats to you on what you do. And Brent, you're doing a great job on the things that you're doing. You're passionate about what you're doing and the field that you're in. So we all do what we love to do, and that's why we do it. And congratulations to both of you guys for what you guys are doing.
Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot. And, I'd have gotten into this thing a lot earlier, but there's one thing that kept me from it, and that's fear.
Yeah, well, and that fear comes from the devil. And, so knock that out of the way, brother, and keep doing what you do, because, you've got a talent, and you've got music in you. So let it be heard, and believe in yourself. And I think God will open the doors for you, brother.
Well, and I love doing what I do. I love getting up and singing. We did a concert in Corsicana last Saturday night, and the crowd was pretty thin, but they made up for it in enthusiasm. But the cool thing was, as you eye the crowd, and I don't know about you, but I'm aware of every time somebody gets up and walks out, and I didn't see anybody get up and leave, and that spoke volumes. And so the ones that stayed there were the ones we fed off of energy wise. And it was just, we had more fun. We played like for 3 hours, 15 minutes, 45 songs. And I could have gone another hour easily,
Yeah.
And I love doing that, but I also love, getting involved in this label with Kurt Ryle, and we've got these young artists. I get equally, maybe even more so, enjoy helping them, find their dream and being somebody, a part of something, and somebody, an entity that they can actually trust that's going to lead them in the right direction. Kurt,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Kurt and his story, but he's been in the music business for 40 years or so. He was with Mel Tillis as his producer and band leader, and he's been with done things toured with Vern Gosdin. He knows the music business, and Kurt is just a guy that I trust completely. He's become one of my very closest friends, and it's so cool and I'm just kind of in there trying to help Kurt steer these young folks in the right direction. If they want to get in the music business, and God gave him the gift of talent there, then we just want to do what we can to make sure that they get steered in the right direction.
Well, that's good, man. I mean, I know who Kurt is. I've never met him, but I've seen him on Facebook and the things that y'all are doing. So, congrats to you guys, and wanting to help some of these young artists. And that's, if you don't mind, I mean, right now, like, here's my book, A Hit with a Bullet, The Real Murder on Music Row. If you can see it on there. If somebody wants to get that, they can get that on my website at sammysadler.com, and I will personally autograph those on my website. Or if you want to get it on Amazon, you can get it there. Or if you're not a big, book reader and you want to listen, it's on all the Audible levels. You can download it there and listen to it. But in my book, and I'm not saying this because I wrote this book, but if you're in the entertainment industry, or if you're wanting to get into the music business as an entertainer, a singer, a songwriter, or whatever, I think this book might be able to help steer you away and help you along your journey. Because whenever you go, I don't care where you go, to Nashville, you go to New York, LA, Atlanta, wherever, as a young artist, be sure that you check out the people that may want to do business with you, or they tell you things. Make sure they're reputable people, and make sure that they're good people, because there's a lot of people in this business that will paint that picture, but they're really not, the right kind of people that you want to deal with. So maybe that read in my book may help people be aware of whenever you want to take that step and take that journey to whatever destination you want to try to do in the music business.
And one thing I've realized, in working with these young folks, I mean, we're talking 17, 18-year-olds, Kurt's had some of these kids since they were 7 or 8 years old. Their whole family sacrifices for them. It's just like a
Absolutely.
kid that's got a special, talent in sports or whatever. The whole family, sacrifices. And with Kurt, but that when one of his kids comes to record, that family generally stays in his home, and it's just a family deal. But so the family kind of lives and dies by that career as well. So it ain't just about the artist; it's about everybody that's trying to help that artist get to where they're going, and the people that love them and care about them the most. And so there's a big responsibility to help steer them in the right direction.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to reading that book for sure.
I'm going to get it to you. Don't worry.
Well, I hope you sign it. You could, I want
absolutely.
But I think it'd be good for somebody to take that book and turn it into a documentary type thing or something to get the right story out there. It sounds like this thing has been misrepresented too often.
Yeah, I mean it has, and we're in the middle of. There's a docuseries being made right now about it, and that's coming down the pike, for me, and so stay tuned. I mean we got a lot of things going on. I've got a new manager. Jimmy Adams is managing me and Leon Everett, and Leon and Jimmy have been associated throughout. There's Leon right there, man. I'll tell you, man, Leon is 75 years old, guys, and I'm telling you, he's got more energy than a 25-year-old. He jumps around on stage. I mean, you couldn't believe that this guy's 75 years old, and I'm thankful that him and I and God led us to cross paths. He's a Christian man, and he believes in God and knows what God can do, and he's got a fabulous testimony as well. It'll blow you away as well. But him and I are being managed by the same manager, Jimmy Adams. And Jimmy, I don't know if y'all have heard anything about this thing called Country Box. Have you heard anything about that? Jimmy is a promoter, and he's been associated with Don King for about 50 years. And he's got this thing going on in Nashville. It's called Country Box, where boxing meets country music.
Really?
And he's having it at the Troubadour every Tuesday, on a Tuesday of every month. I think he's got it going on February the 6th, I believe, this coming February. And he's got it now syndicated into 100 million homes, and it's taken off. And he's I can't remember the boxer. He managed one of the heavyweight champions. And Jimmy's got a lot of things coming up for me and Leon. Leon and I just got through recording a duet that we're going to be putting out together that I think is going to be really good. And but we're excited. We got a lot of things. Like I said, the docuseries things, I'm working on that. And I'm just excited about the future. And I've got a new album already in the can that we're sitting on. And I've got a song on there that's got myself, Ken Mellons, John Anderson, and the late Jeff Carson. We got a song on there, and I'm excited about getting that album out, hopefully in 2024. And just recorded a gospel song, and I'm trying to work on maybe doing a 5 or 6 song EP for a gospel project. And we just got through cutting the first one of those, and it's just a great song. And so I'm just excited about the future. Thankful to still be here and pursuing what I love to do, guys.
Well, where can we see you guys live? Are y'all performing anywhere soon? Or?
Well, we've got some things we're working on. We ain't got anything locked in stone yet. We're trying. I've got a little surgery procedure that I got to go through here in February, the first week of February. And I'm gonna be down about a week or a week and a half. So I'm just kind of getting through this and getting through what I got to go through with that, and then we're going to gear up and start trying to put the show together and try to get out there and start booking some dates and see what happens with everything.
Well, I want to invite you to come to Fort Worth and be a part of our National Hall concert series sometime.
I'd love to.
We'd love to build a show around that, and I know we could pack people in, and I'd love to have you there on stage at National Hall.
Man, it'd be an honor to come over and play with you guys. If we never do any shows with y'all or put any kind of package things together, man, we're easy to work with, man. We just love playing music and love seeing the people. And like I said earlier, man, if something that we say or something that we do or our testimony can touch somebody, then that's what it's all about, man. We just love what we do, and we just want to get out there and see the people and say hello, and hopefully they're going to like something that we do.
We'll make it happen.
Appreciate it, man.
If you want to see him in person now, you're gonna have to put on your muck boots here because he's got other business he's tending to these days, huh?
Man, I tell you what, we got a pasture full of calves right now, and man, I tell you what, it's good to see them little things, and it's a joy to see those little guys come in the world. We had one come in a couple of weeks ago. He come in when it's really cold, so he's probably thinking, man, what did I just come into, man, all this cold weather? But we love messing with the cows out here. And like I said earlier, man, we got 56 acres, and we just have peace and quiet. It's always good to go out on the road, but it's always good to come home and be at home,
What a blessing, man. What a blessing. Well, if people want to keep up with you, where do they go to do that?
They can go to SammySadler.com. That's my official website. My official Facebook is Sammy Sadler Official. My Facebook got hacked last year. We can't get it back. We can't get Facebook to help us acknowledge anything. I lost nearly 17,000 followers. We're having to start completely over. So if you go out there and you see Sammy Sadler and there's a Vietnamese guy there, that is not my page. I don't know why Facebook can't get it and don't see that and can't do something about it and take it down, but
we could do a whole series about that.
Man, it's crazy, but Sammy Sadler Official is my real Facebook. So go there, tell everybody to go there, go to my YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever we got, and like us and share us. We'd love to see you. And again, man, Brent, thank you for being so kind to me and having me back on the show. And Steve, it's a pleasure to see you today. And it was a pleasure talking to you whenever we got to talk a couple of months ago. And thank you guys for all you're doing for music and for believing in what you do, man.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to be doing some cool stuff together. I definitely want to pursue that. So we'll be talking, and I'm just grateful that God spared you that night. And I'm sad that he took Kevin's life, but I believe that Kevin. I want to just jump out and say that Kevin lives on through you, and so I know that that's a big responsibility that you have to keep his memory alive in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier, he doesn't have a voice, and I'm going to be Sammy Sadler. I tell it like it is, and I say what I feel, and I say what I mean, and I feel that Nashville Police Department. I just don't believe that they portrayed this right. I don't believe that. I'm thankful now. Don't get me wrong. I'm thankful that they solved this crime. I'm thankful that they brought it to justice. But treating it and doing what they did, I mean, at some point, I had to go in and take a lie detector test. I went in and got hypnotized. I done everything that they asked me to do, and at some point, you're not a suspect. I can understand you may have to ask me questions, you may have to do whatever, but at some point you're not a suspect anymore. And to treat me and my family and put us through that all the way up to 13 years, I think it's wrong.
I agree. Well, I'm glad that you've come through all that, and God has had your back, and so we believe in you, that's for sure. And,
well, I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on this morning and let me tell my story and let me say what I have to say about it. And I'm not here to try to offend anybody. I'm just here to tell the truth and let people know what I've had to walk through and what I've been through. And again, it's by the grace of God that I'm here, and I thank Him every day for allowing me to still be here and And when I got saved, I'll tell you a little piece right here that I've always remembered. I got saved in a little Baptist church, and when I got saved, my dad, when I was a little kid, took me to Assembly of God Pentecostal churches, and I had that instilled in me when I was a young child. But as we all do, we kind of rebel and get away and do our own thing. But when I came back and I got baptized a little bitty Baptist church, probably 50 people went to that church. And the night that I got baptized, the pastor said, "I want to talk to you after baptism night." I said, "Okay." And so I went back in his office, and we were the only ones still left there. My mom and dad were out in the parking lot waiting on me. And he come in there and he wanted to know my story. And so I told him, what I'd survived, what I'd been through. And he said, "Sammy," he said, "I've got I want to tell you a couple things." And he said, "The night you got shot," he said, "you're like Job." And I was young in the Bible then, I had just started reading it, but I'd already read the book of Job. And man, I looked at him, I said, "Man, I don't want to be like Job. I don't want to go through all that." And he said, "Well, you're like Job." He said, "The night that you got shot," he said, "the Lord told him, the devil said, you can shoot him, but you can't kill him." And I've always carried that with me. And he always said, he said, "You like to fish?" And I go, "Yeah." He said, "Well, when you go out there to that lake or you go that pond, you carry that tackle box with you, don't you?" And I go, "Yeah." And he said, "You got all the hooks and lures and bait and all that in there." And he said, "You cast out there." He said, "You may sit there all day and never get a bite." I said, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "You reach over in that tackle box." He said, "You get another lure, put it on there, and if you don't get anything, you put another one on there." And he said, "All of a sudden you get a little snug, little tug, don't you?" And I go, "Yeah." He said, "That's how the devil works with you every day. He throws darts at you every day to see what you're going to jump at. And when you jump at that," he said, "that's when he comes on and he pours it on you." He says, "because he knows he's got your attention." So I remember that, and I try to remember that in my daily walk every day of what the devil may be trying to do. I mean, he may use an ex-wife, an ex-husband, a telephone, or whatever, try to get your attention to get you back in that old swing of things, or to get your attention to get you back to where you came from. So anybody out there listening, try to remember that and try to be aware of everything that goes on in your life, and know if it's of the devil or if it's of God.
I've that experience for me is just because it feels good doesn't mean it's always God.
That's right.
God's will sometimes is extremely uncomfortable, but that's how you grow.
That's right.
Call them growing pains. And so the devil can come in many different disguises. I go back to probably my favorite artist that a lot of people either love him or they hate him, but Bob Dylan, one of his songs is "Sometimes Satan comes as a man of peace."
Yeah. Well, man, I sure do appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for sharing my music and my story, and likewise, Steve. I hope we get to see each other and do some things this coming year together.
I'm sure we will.
Absolutely.
Look forward to it.
And before we get out of here, Steve, a little update on what's coming up November 3rd.
February 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
November 3rd. February 3rd. Yeah, we got
help me out here.
Got this concert coming up February 3rd at National Hall. We got these. I was talking about earlier with Sammy, these youngsters. We got Mackenzie and Austin McKetty and the McKetty family backing them up. And then we got Evie May there, and then Braden Ryle, Kurt's son, who's just so talented. I can't wait to showcase these young artists.
And this handsome young lad right here.
Oh Lord, yeah. But we're gonna have a lot of fun. We got the A-list band. We're gonna fire them up, and these players, man, I had so much fun with those guys down in Corsicana. I can't wait to hit the stage again, and we're gonna be doing. When our part toward the end of the night, we'll be doing some of our original Western swing stuff, but we got a bunch of honky tonk covers that everybody knows that will get people out on the dance floor. So we're just going to have a lot of fun with it. And I've tried to choose songs that not a lot of other bands that are playing the nightclub circuit will play. I try to pick some a little more unique stuff there, but stuff that'll still get you out on the dance floor. It's going to be a fun night, though, and I know these young kids are going to blow everybody away with their talent. And they've got right now they're setting the world on fire and burning up various charts, and we're getting ready for this TV show that we're going to be launching through American Country Network sometime in March or April. And the relationship with these kids and Kurt Ryle is kind of going to be the center of this whole thing. And we think the story is going to be really compelling, just kind of showing what goes on day in and day out in the studio, what it's like to be an independent artist, trying to and everything that goes along with making music and building a career to get you to higher heights, I guess, and we'll be collaborating a lot with Tommy Snyder and his bunch, and Noah Gordon and the 8-Track Entertainment guys, and so anyway, it's going to be an interesting deal. But the concert, yes, there's still tickets left. We've tickets have been selling very well, but we still got tickets left, and want to get everybody out there. Music starts at 7:00. The doors open at 6. We got John Durham, the hall manager, is going to be putting out some really good, I would suspect, barbecue. That's his specialty. So you can get a dinner and the concert and get out there and dance that barbecue off and have a good time. They got a full bar there. And so we want to pack the house and get as many people as we can. It's going to be a fun night.
February 3rd. Where can people get tickets?
Well, you can go to my website, Markward Music, MARKWARDT, markwardmusic.com. There's a button right there that on the front page that says buy tickets. I think you can also go to All Star Entertainment International's website. That's the promoter that's handling all the ticket and promotion side of everything. And so that's Chuck Morris, I should say, not Chuck Norris, Chuck Morris. He's got a black belt in promotion, and Chuck. So
he'll hurt you if you don't buy a ticket.
Yeah, he will hurt. Yeah, right. He'll hurt you.
Maybe you should have hired Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we're looking forward to it. It should be a great night. So.
Good deal. So go jump on those tickets there. Just want to remind everybody one thing. The new episode of Tractors and Troubadours, the podcast, dropped this morning. You can find that at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcast. It features music this week from Austin McKetty, one of the great Clarksville creative sound artists here. And shout out to Austin. We've been praying for him. He had a little bit of a rough ride here earlier this week, Steve.
I don't know that I heard about that. What?
Okay, well, I didn't know I was breaking news here.
Don't tell me he got on a bull again.
No, he was actually riding with a bull rider, and they were on some icy roads. And, and had an accident, and he wound up taking both of them some stitches or some staples to the head. So
wow.
Well, I'm glad he's. Yes, I did know about that. I thought you were. I was thinking because we spent a lot of time trying to keep him off bull. He's a closet bull rider. He loves to get on bulls and ride, and he's I guess anybody that's done that and that gets in their blood. But I told Austin right before they were going to take the stage with Gene Watson, great opportunity for them, and he was wanting to go ride bulls. I said, I just said, look, Gene doesn't want you on stage with a cast on your arm. Bro.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, those guys are some tough sons of guns here, and they came through it all right here. They're banged up, but live to tell about it. And I hope everybody will go check that out. A great new song, Slow Train to Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's one his daddy wrote, and so it's real special to him, and it's a great song.
Awesome.
And you can also buy it, I would imagine, i2irecords.com here. Dina Wood doing the promotion on that. So shout out to Dina. I know she's on here.
Yeah.
We all love Dina.
Hello there, Dina.
Dina's kind of the glue that holds this whole thing together. She's also Sammy, the adult supervision for all of us kids.
Is she?
If she hadn't yet, she'll put you in your place.
There you go.
That's what it's all about. Well, I want to thank everybody who joined us today. And again, thank you, Sammy, for taking the time with us here. And we hope you come back and kind of unfold things as this career unfolds here.
Man, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'd love to come back. And like I said, me and Leon Everett, we're going out in 2024. Just trying to get through a couple things here, the first part of the year through February, the first part of February, and then we'll start trying to ramp down and start getting some dates and stuff put together.
Well, make sure you check out his website, sammysadler.com, and also his official Facebook page so you can keep on top of when all those dates are coming and go out and see him.
Yeah, I would love to see everybody, man. It's always a pleasure. And again, man, we love to do what we love to do. And when people come out and see us and say hello to us, I mean, we love visiting everybody. And that's what it's all about, man, just making friends and making music.
Absolutely. Steve, I hope you have a good week, man. We'll be back here again next Friday, 10 a.m. Central, and we'll do it again.
Well, let's do it. And
thank
Sammy,
you, guys.
Sammy, good to see you, brother. And
good to see you.
We'll definitely stay in close touch, and let us know when you get your tour stuff done, and we'll help you promote it any way we can. And I'd love to have you come to the studio sometime in Clarksville as well, and meet up with Kurt and see what we're doing.
Love to, man. Love to meet him, man. I've seen a lot of stuff that y'all are doing, when I catch it on Facebook. So tell him I said hello, and would love to meet him, and love to see you guys sometime.
All right, brother.
Well, thank you.
Y'all have a great day, guys.
You too, man. Thank you to everybody that showed up. We'll be back again next Friday, 10 a.m. Central, for another Fort Worth musical moment. For Sammy Sadler, for Steve Markwood, it's Brent Adams. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.